And here comes Milwaukee. Forbes another three. Oh, no! This is the Random Scrub Heat Podcast.
The return. The Miami Heat have won the draft lottery in a different universe, not the one that we're subject to, because they would have if they had even a remotely mediocre front office. But the Random Scrub Heat Podcast is back after the last time we potted. I think Jimmy Butler was still a member of the Miami Heat. This season took a toll on all of us in different ways. It was a generational fumble from the Miami Heat's front office to not get into the lottery as a 10 seed. That's all it took. One of the most generational fumbles of this franchise's history. And that's what it took to get us back together to record another episode of the Random Scrub Heat Podcast. To all of our listeners that are atheists, I think this is proof that there is a higher power out there, and they fucking hate us. We've done something. The Miami Heat believe in basketball gods. The gods don't believe in them, because there's no way you can justify this outcome. The Dallas Mavericks won the NBA draft lottery from the 11th spot. If you haven't been keeping up with Twitter tonight, that 11th spot belonged to your Miami Heat. The spot that would have belonged to the Miami Heat had they just lost to the Hawks or the Bulls. But no, they had to win to get the young guys more experience and to be part of the greatest playoff blowout in the history of the National Basketball Association. Why would they want to be on the receiving end of the biggest beatdown of all time when they can literally just punt away their future? That questions were being asked. I guess the one thing before I throw it to Harry and George, because I am joined now by Hot Take Harry and the Thunder from Down Under, George. We're back for more basketball takes. And the one argument, I guess, that everyone was saying was the unprotected picks. The Miami Heat gave up their lottery pick this year to make the playoffs. That would have again been the 11th pick. They would have won Cooper Flag. They would have captured the flag as opposed to keeping unprotected picks that would have gone to Oklahoma City and the Charlotte Hornets. The Heat now own both of those picks, and 26 and 28, Harry, if I'm not mistaken. The Heat now own those picks. They will keep them because they are giving an unprotected, or they're giving this year's pick, whatever, the 15th pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder also almost got the 6th pick from the 76ers, but we know that the draft is, whether or not you want to believe it's rigged, I'm not going to argue against that. But that was the trade-off. The Heat wanted to make the playoffs to be able to hold on to their unprotected picks for the next 2 years. But doesn't that go against Heat culture? Harry, George, doesn't that go against Heat culture? Admitting that we want those unprotected picks because they'd be unprotected. We might be bad. Well, they're not going to tank. So if they believe in themselves so much, why did they want to let go? Why did they not want to let go of those picks? If this was the worst in their mind that they're going to be for the next 3 to 5 years, wouldn't you want that pick? If this is the worst you're going to be, where are their heads at? I'll start with Harry. What is that line of thinking to think that giving up unprotected picks when you want to be competing and you want to sign a Kevin Durant, you want to trade for a Giannis Antetokounmpo, you want to rebuild with a Zion Williamson, what's the point of doing that and not keeping unprotected picks? Wouldn't you want a pick in a generational draft, Harry? What's the thought process there?
I mean, that was my thought process. I would say, yes, they finished in the 11th spot. They would have finished in the 11th spot had they lost the play-in, with a chance to jump up. Even if they hadn't won, Cooper Flag or moved up to a top 4 pick, you're still talking about another pick that was tradable, right? I think that's the other thing. A pick that would have been tradable today, at the draft, but basically before the season. When the Heat again find themselves kind of, dearth of draft picks once again. If they had lost, they would have conveyed 2026 to the Thunder and 2028 to the Hornets. But that also meant they would have had the picks to build a team where you could have essentially said, "Hey, man, we're going to give away a top 20 pick next year. Like a 20 or later pick next year. No big deal." And you could have crafted it where, in 2028 you were also decent, so there wouldn't have been in my opinion, I didn't understand the argument. So now essentially the Heat have their 2026 pick next year. Like you said, if they're not going to be bad, who cares? It's going to be another Jaime Jaquez, Jovic, a guy who's fine, but doesn't move the needle, is a sixth or seventh man off the bench, and you're just not going to win with six men or eight, six or seven men. They're not good enough to win. You need stars to win in the NBA. So that was part one. I didn't really understand why people kept saying that. So yeah, so LJ, it basically protects them if they're really bad next year or the year after, and 2027 as well. But if they finish like 15th or 16th again, they're just conveying that pick to Charlotte in 2027. We're going to be in a very similar scenario than we are right today. So I didn't really understand the logic. I've been arguing this for now the last 2 seasons. There is no reason to make the postseason as an 8 seed if instead you have a chance of moving up in the draft lottery. There's no reason.
The only thing that I would ever push back on is if you have a prime Jimmy Butler, you have a prime alpha number one, then I'm like, okay, anything can like say you have a weird injury riddled season, you get in as an 8 seed, you have a prime LeBron James, then it's like, okay, I get it. I get why you'd want to at least roll the dice, but you have a fucking Tyler Herro as your number one. Like what do you think's gonna happen?
But LJ, the argument is, and I don't want to take away too much time from George, but the argument is, and I think Mike Ryan mentioned this the other day on the Levitard show, like that finals run screwed over this team, similar to the way the bubble run screwed over the team because they thought they were good enough to win, doing something very unprecedented that will never happen again, and they didn't make the moves necessary at the time when Jimmy was at the height of his powers to surround him with enough to win. For during the run where they lost to the Nuggets, they did that without Tyler Herro because he got injured in like the first game against the Bucks. And they were like, well, great, we didn't have Herro. Let's run it back and see what happens. Then, that season is a mess because they are in the play-in again and Jimmy gets hurt and, they managed to make it into the 8th seed, but they get, wrecked by the Celtics who are eventually the champions. And then this year, I mean, what was the best case scenario? They catch this Cavs team a few weeks earlier. They're hurt like they are now. They beat them and they run into the Pacers or the Celtics. Like, there's no real benefit to this. Like, fans can say whatever they want. They could say these guys are getting playoff experience. I have to say that suffering the worst playoff loss in a series in NBA history is only showing you that you're a bad team, that you're a horribly run team, that you're a really shitty front office. And they kind of deserve this, right? Like, we could be angry, we can spend a lot of time, but like, they've done this to themselves. There's no one else to blame. It was easy for them to blame Joe Cronin when the Damian Lillard trade fell through. It's easy for them and fans to point the finger, and point to the Heat having 3 championships in their history. But they have done this to themselves. I'm going to go to George because I have a lot to say about this, but they've had a lot of time to correct their mistakes. They've had a lot of time to sit back and figure out what needed to change to make the tweaks in their philosophy to go back to competing again. And at every opportunity, they have failed. And they continue to fail. And there's nothing to show us that they've learned from any of their mistakes. And we can talk about Riley's press conference and all that other stuff, but like, we are in purgatory. We are stuck. This team is really in a bad spot. And if you're a Heat fan and you spent money on this team and, they brought you joy in your life and this is, kind of the team you grew up with and you're a big basketball fan, like, I believe, in Spanish it would be estamos jodidos. Like, they're fucked, guys. We are fucked. And we're not getting out of this anytime soon.
George, I want to go to you now. Where do you kind of see the situation for the Heat that they found themselves in? Because like Harry alluded to also, they got those extra playoff games. They got 4 extra playoff games where they got to see Ty Jerome earn $1 billion, and then he lost it all in the next series, scoring 2 points in 3 straight games. What a fucking loser. And Tyler Herro got his face fried off by that guy, mind you. Andrew Wiggins trade value through the fucking shitter now because of those extra playoff games. Spo didn't even play any of the young guys. So where's their experience coming from? Davion Mitchell got experience? Cool. What do you make of the situation that they've now, the hole that they've dug for themselves, George?
To follow along with Harry's sentence in Spanish, carne asada, wherever the hell it was.
Carne asada, that's right. No, that's what he said.
That's the one.
Yep.
Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. Let's go. We are fucked. That's like, and we can elaborate on this for hours at a time. But the fact of the matter is, forget correcting the mistakes. Identifying them would have been a fantastic start. Like if you had been following the basement in the last 2.5 years, you would have heard us complain about the same mistakes over and over again. Poor asset management over and over again. Poor draft hand, poor accumulation of assets, poor managing of assets that are expiring, but poor scouting of other players. Lightning strikes twice, bullshit like that. We traded for a point guard. His name's Kyle Lowry, who didn't turn out to be great. Traded in for another point guard. His name's Tyler Herro. That hasn't turned out great. No matter which way you look at it, no matter which way you slice it, you cut the mustard, the lot cut can only be split that many times. You know what I mean? We have made plenty of mistakes. I'm just worried that purgatory for us isn't just a 2-3 year thing, 1 to 2 season thing. For anyone else in the entire organization, these issues, this poor asset management, this poor, handling of the organization is a fireable offense. But because our GM is 198 years old and was good when payphones were used to call home, we're stuck with the guy that has the most hope he's given us in 4 years was the announcement that the press conference would be televised, and hoping he'd be gone from the organization. That's the most hope we've had. It's actually, it is so pathetic how the story and the narrative can be controlled in so many different ways. We've had the fan base split for the longest period of time about so many issues. Most recently, it was the play-in versus playoff, play-in versus no play-in. Losing on purpose does yield, a return. It does yield a positive return in that sense. We could have, and don't get me wrong, I understand how a lottery works. I know that luck will change at any instant. But in this instance, my bad, we would have ended up with the number 1 pick. That is where this comes down to. We would have ended up with another pick. So you can chalk that one up to another absolutely stupidity-ridden move by this organization. And we have to sit here and deal with it now. Because while there are free agents out there and we're hoping that, Giannis becomes available, he just said he wants to go to a place where there's, there's no state income tax.
Texas.
Texas,
Referring
Florida.
to Texas is what he's referring to.
So he's either at the Spurs or by God's given grace, he goes, I like the Heat. Let me go, let me come to Miami. Which, by the way, the fan base has been clamoring for. Doesn't even matter because we had that. We had Dame say Miami and Miami only. You know where it ended up? Where Giannis is now. So it doesn't matter which way you look at it. We can't build through the draft. Our young guys suck. Let me just go over the asset pool that we have right now. Okay, limited amount of picks. Losing our pick next year. So we're going to be losing our pick in 1 or 2 years time. If it's those are lottery protected, we can't get
27, I think, right?
Yeah, we've lost that one. We've got Tyler Herro, who in his first season as the number 1 option, into which Spo destroyed an entire rotation and structure that came along with Miami Heat basketball to accommodate for Tyler Herro. In the playoffs, continues to average under 16 points a game. That is your first option. We have Bam, who is just clinically depressed at this point with the crap that's been going on. Someone get him some help, please. Like, I'm not talking in the game. I'm talking outside of basketball. See if he's okay. Wiggins on a massive contract, which that's not going anywhere unless we can entice someone with our draft picks that we don't have. Then we can look further down. Kalal Ware, the latest edition of a Miami Heat player where the fan base has deemed him too precious to move on. How many times do you have to read the fucking book, man? There's no such thing as an untouchable talent. Luka Doncic was traded this year. There is no such thing as being untradeable or too precious to an organization. It doesn't exist. It doesn't work like that anymore. If there is a way for you to cut this purgatory short, to enter to enter the shit years of basketball where you're still gonna get a couple of good picks in a couple of years' time, or you trade him for just say Giannis does decide that Miami's the place he wants to be, and the Heat enter the negotiating table. If I get a whiff of the idea that Kalal Ware was not made available in trade discussions for Giannis Antetokounmpo, I will lose my fucking mind. I will speak to Giannis myself and ask if that's the case. I couldn't give a shit. We can communicate. I'm disgusted. Beyond disgusted. I'll give it back to Harry.
We're trilingual tonight, guys. We're really very, very ethnic tonight. But I think, I think Georgie made a good point. Like most teams, even in a down period, they could just take a year or two off, tank a little bit, acquire some assets, and come back firing. I think obviously, look, there are arguments against it. There are teams who have tanked very poorly. So obviously, you have the Sixers. They did it for 5 years. They have a broken Embiid to show for it, and they've never gotten past the second round. Or now the Jazz are having a horrendous time with the tank thing. Obviously, they're not doing so well either. So there obviously are franchises that it didn't put them in a great spot. But I think if you're a good franchise, tanking puts you in the ultimate spot. Look at what the Spurs are about to do. Yes, they suffered quite a bit after Tim Duncan retired, and they had some lean years. Even with Pop, they were struggling. But here they are, right? They got the number 1 pick. Hopefully, Wemby comes back healthy. He looks amazing when he's been out there. He looks like a game changer. They make
Castle as well.
Castle looks great too. You're right, even though he might be moved in a second. But they got Fox for very little. Castle is a nice pick. Now they have the number 2 pick, which I'm very confident they're going to use to acquire Giannis.
Yeah, the Bucks will be making that pick. Yes, correct.
Yeah. And so you essentially have went from, this Spurs team has a lot of young pieces, but there's not a lot going on, to, a guy who looks like he could be an all-timer in Wemby. You pair him with Giannis, which seems like a pretty perfect front court pairing with Wemby shooting. You're going to have Fox. You mentioned Castle, who is good. Georgian was the rookie of the year, but I think he'll probably be moved in a trade like that. It'd be great if they could do it for like just the second pick, but I don't know.
Now, your salary has to match somewhere. And I know, obviously, Castle's on the rookie deal, but you got to find some way to trim the fat on that roster to be able to make what Giannis makes in addition to draft compensation. So they'd be a little more lean, but I think that's why I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Giannis possibilities on this pod, whether it be today or in the offseason, because it's a pretty moot point to me.
Well, also, LJ, that's the other point I was trying to make earlier is like the Heat inquired about Giannis 5 years ago. Like they wanted him after the bubble went bad, and they lost the finals to the Lakers. And I guess he wasn't exactly ready to move on then, and of course he comes back the next year and wins. I think a much more flukier championship, honestly. I think the year after the bubble is the flukiest championship. You had multiple teams basically licking their wounds from the injuries they suffered in the bubble run on a much more shortened offseason. So anyway, Giannis wins, but he's kind of, Giannis is a great player. He's looking to win more, and it's not going to happen in Milwaukee. Obviously, they get him Dame, and he signs the extension, but now, you have Dame dealing with an Achilles injury. And I just think you're 5 years out from that, right? Where we said, man, the Heat don't really have enough for Giannis unless we're swapping Bam or something, and we're in the same spot, you know. And the problem is when you look around the league and you just say, oh, this guy might be interested in Miami. That's awesome. No one's coming here. Like George said, Dame demanded Miami, Miami only. It didn't work out. You know why? Because they weren't willing to give up everything they had for him. And everything they had wasn't that awesome. And that's kind of the problem. You gave Joe Cronin an out because you didn't have something to blow him away. So he looked around and said, you know what? If I get a pick from Milwaukee, which is, if you guys think about it, that Milwaukee pick might be pretty good now. Like, we can say all we want it, but that Milwaukee pick's probably going to be good in 2029.
That's the tough thing too, though. I mean, with the East, it won't be as good as it probably could have been,
Well,
just
it
because
won't
so many
be
people in
great,
the East
but
are going to be horrible.
but the problem is, we mock him because we were angry and upset, and then you look like he's got a Boston pick. Listen, sure, Boston, could do it again this year, but in 3 years, they already have a new owner who's not going to want to pay that luxury tax. They're going to start making moves to trim the fat because this salary cap and this CBA is so punitive. Like, it's why you make those moves, and it's why you when you know you're not going to win, when you're the fucking 10th seed in the East, you trade away guys to acquire picks to make sure you don't make the goddamn postseason. It's so stupid at this point. Like, there's no justification to win. Great, you won, you're happy. Your family doesn't think you're losers, I guess. Who cares, man? Like, you got your ass beat. We all knew that was going to happen. Anyone with a brain knew that was going to happen. And I don't know if we all knew we were going to get swept, but we knew it wasn't going to be a close series. And, I'm just not sure how they looked at that run, if we're talking recently, the finals run. And we got smoked by the Nuggets. We got smoked, guys. We won game 2 by 3 points, but we got smoked. All of our guys turned into pumpkins, and we didn't do anything to make that team better. We haven't done anything to make sure we have draft picks, so when a guy becomes available, and I think with the punitiveness and the new CBA, I think there's going to be even more trades, because logically, you'd rather trade for a guy on a fixed contract than what you have to pay for the new guy coming up. So, for example, I don't even know what Giannis is making right now. I think it's like maybe 55 million. Of course, I want Giannis at 55 over having to possibly pay a Tyler Herro or a Bam more money when that contract comes up because the cap continues to rise. And that's kind of where we are. Like, you'd rather trade for the fixed number now because you're locked into that number than you are paying the future guy down the road. And the Heat just continue to shoot themselves in the foot, and then do nothing about it. They don't go to the hospital to get the bullet out. They don't get the wound fixed. They don't realize, hey man, maybe I shouldn't handle a loaded gun, aimed at my foot. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this stuff anymore.
They're
They
big
just
Plaxico Burress fans. We've come to
yeah,
realize.
they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot over and over again. There's been so many exits off this purgatory highway, if you will. And they're like, nope, I'm just going to keep going. And the gas tank is getting low, guys. Like, we are going to run out of gas. And they're like, nope, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. Let's see how far we can go. They've hit that wall. Like, we are at a point in time where this was a good franchise. We have 3 championships. You can't take any of that away from us. It's not going to come back and take any of that away from us. But if you look back, if you're objective, a lot of that stuff had to do with drafting Dwayne Wade, because we tanked and we got Wade and we got lucky he was there at 5.
Well, didn't Pat Riley want Chris Kaman, as I recall it?
Yeah,
he had to be talked out of taking Chris Kaman.
Luckily, he was talked into a guard out of Marquette, who's arguably one of the best defensive guards of all time. But that's why the Heat are a successful franchise. It's not because of Pat Riley. It's not because of Mickey Arison. It's because they were fortunate enough to draft Dwayne Wade. He was an all-timer.
And they were in the right place at the right time for
and
both
they
Shaq
realized,
and the Big Three.
And they realized after that after the Shaq thing went awry and they won, they realized they needed to clear the books because there was a shot at getting Dwayne Wade's best friend in the world, LeBron and Chris, and
Isn't
led-
that the only time, Harry, in your memory you can recollect that the Heat had some foresight and got off a player at the right time? Because it started to
that's the
smell bad
last
with Shaq, and they booted his ass out and said, "All right, let's reset." And they
that's
haven't
the
done
last
that
time.
since.
The run up to the big three, and I remember especially like Lebitard show basically saying, and Stu Gatz being like, they're wasting Dwayne Wade's career, they're ruining his
Yep.
prime. Because if
Yeah.
you remember, Wade averaged like 30 points in that 2009 season. He should have been the MVP. And it was all because they were making the space to make a run at the greatest free agency coup ever. But here we are. We're 15 years removed from that. We got lucky to get Jimmy, who again was a friend of Wade, and
It all comes back
had
to the same guy, doesn't it?
and had a shot at doing that. But we're just kind of in the spot where like Wade's moved on. We didn't offer him an ownership. I don't know why I can't speak tonight. An ownership stake. He went out to Utah. He's there now. Wade is gone. Jimmy, got his way out of here, and we're stuck. And like George saying, this is not because they won't tank. Because this would be a very simple thing. Like you guys said at the very beginning, LJ, we have our picks the next 2 years if we're bad. If we can not make the postseason, we have these picks. Next year's draft is supposed to be good too. So
That's also the thing, though. To your credit, is like they have the picks for the next couple of years. If they don't do anything this year, because let's be honest, right? Time is a flat circle. They continually miss out on stars. They're not going to get Giannis. KD is realistic, but it's like Houston makes more sense anyway with their embarrassing exit. They're going to try to switch something up. They still say they believe in Jalen Green, and that gave me night terrors when I saw them say that yesterday. When they said we still believe in Jalen Green, I'm like, you're falling down the Tyler Herro path, brother. And listen, I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two about Tyler Herro belief. But if you're so dead set on going after KD, if you miss out, which we're pretty certain that they will miss out because time is a flat circle, they will miss out on a star. They will be bad next year because we saw what a Tyler Herro led team and a Bam Adebayo. And I don't want to throw shade at Bam either because he's the only person that seems to try on defense outside of Davion Mitchell. You're not winning anything with them. Acknowledge it. You'll be a bad team. They'll have their pick. They'll be able to make a top. What I mean, in the lottery, who fucking knows? But you'll be able to make a pretty good pick in next year's draft if you run it back. Even though Pat doesn't want to ribbit, whatever the fuck he was on during that press conference. But you said it today on Twitter, Harry. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The last time we potted, I was not a father, mind you. It's been months. Jimmy Butler is no longer on the Miami Heat. The Heat now don't even have their first round pick this year, and they are still, like George said, in purgatory. They're staring down the barrel at the same exact thing, and the only thing, I'll let you go in a second, Harry, because I want to throw it to you on the picture you sent me earlier. The only thing that you have to look at is the lottery. And people want to say, well, you're never really going to move up. It doesn't happen very often. Since the NBA changed in 2019, you've seen double-digit seeds of lottery odds jump up in the top four like 3 different times already. It happens all the time. Harry, I want to throw it to you now. Tell the people about all the times double-digit seeds or with lottery odds have jumped up into the top 4 because you sent me that picture. There's a lot of instances in the history of this league where teams have been smiled upon despite not tanking.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I kind of want to look it up because everyone, got on their tinfoil hat and their conspiracy, and maybe it was obviously trading a great player like Luka to a big market like LA and then get rewarded with the one pick is definitely a bit fishy. But if I'm not mistaken, I could be missing a few. This is at least the 11th time a team with less than 3% has moved into the top 4 since 1990. So this is not like that rare of an occurrence. That would be over 35 years. That's happened 11 times. And again, I pulled this off Reddit. This Reddit user could be missing some of that. So this stuff happens, and I just think that again, as we were saying, the odds of moving up are better than the odds of winning the playoff series, and it's better for your long-term future. If the Heat are actually a team that want to compete and want to always compete, taking a step back, reassessing, and getting the draft pick that's higher, that has a better chance of being good, is going to get you there. And the other thing I was going to say, LJ, is if they want to be bad for 2 years, do it. Trade Hero for whatever you get. Like, right? He did have a good regular season. Maybe someone's out there like, this guy would be a perfect complement to X and Y on our team. Let's give up a draft pick and 2 players for Tyler Hero, and we're fine paying him going forward. Great, let's move Hero. Maybe a team comes calling and they offer you 3 picks for Bam. And you know what? I've kind of not been a big guy on trading Bam, but if he's gonna get pissed off that we stink next year and ask out in the summer anyway, maybe I'll get ahead of it and move him and let him go flourish somewhere else. I love Bam, but I'm gonna stay a few steps ahead. And then with your 4 draft picks plus the ones that you have, you can look around the landscape and say, oh, who makes sense who just signed an extension for 3 to 4 years, who would make sense in Miami, who I could build my team around, and do that. Or maybe I want to play the lotto odds and see if I can really get a great player out of college and start over and get my new Dwayne Wade. I don't think there'll be another Wade, but that's my.
He's in Minnesota right now.
Those I know, and those are your options. Like to continually be here and be in the play in 3 straight years and lose and come back and say we need to tweak, but not have the picks, but not do this. But it's not only frustrating. It's not only extremely stupid.
It's
You
so
wouldn't.
tedious.
Yeah,
It's so
and
tedious, man.
and George, you wouldn't if you had a friend who came to you all the time and was asking you for advice and continued to do the same stupid shit over and over again, you wouldn't be friends with them anymore. You would cut them out of your life. You would stop dealing with their bullshit. You would not want to continually hear from this dumbass motherfucker who cannot change their ways. You would
It's
say,
happened before. It's
you would
happened
say,
before.
you would
Shout
say,
out
good
Luke
luck.
if you're
You would,
listening.
sorry, guys. Sorry that George.
George wants to give. George is going to be.
Luke.
We haven't potted with George in a while. We need to
But-
reaccustom ourselves.
You kept
But-
fucking up, Luke. That's why I had to
but-
cut you out, brother. I love you, though.
But yeah, so I mean, if that you would do that, that's how I feel about the Heat. Like, I've taken such a step back from them. This is the 5th pod we've done in 8 months. Like, I'd rather talk about something else. I know LJ was busy. George, I hope you were busy. Go.
Can we look towards the future for a second? Let's do
Sure.
something fun. Let's have a game. Like guys, please, for the love of listen to me. Listen to me, or I'll tase you, man. For fuck's sake. Okay.
Oh, he actually had a taser. Oh, wow.
I did.
He had a big black taser.
It's not.
How many
it's a
inches is
lighter.
that, George? Just go, George. Just go.
I don't fucking know.
Centimeters over there.
Let's go. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's talk about the roster as it currently stands. I'm going to name players. We are going to have a game. What we should do, what the Heat are going to do. Okay? This is fun. Isaiah Stevens out of contract. We should
cut bait.
Bring back
What?
if he wants the what do you call it? Like it's another
Yeah.
2-way deal.
They're going to cut him. All right? Drew Smith, 28 years old at the start of the season next year, out of contract. We are going to
keep him.
3-year deal for $30 million.
And we should do.
We should kick him out of the league.
We should cut bait with him, but they're not. Drew Smith was the most fun thing about the Miami Heat in the year 2024.
We should wheel him out of the league.
Kashad
Johnson.
Yep. $1.95 million player team option.
He'll probably get traded. Oh, should? I don't know. He's fine.
They should keep him. You haven't seen anything from him either. He's whatever.
They're going to cut him.
want them to be bad, George.
They're going to cut him.
My envisioning of this team next year is dog ass. Wet dog ass is what they need to be. Keep Kashad Johnson. He can help with that.
Yeah. Pele Larson under contract. Fine. He can stay.
Traded. Should be traded.
Should be traded. Won't be.
Yeah, I agree.
Alec Burks out of contract.
If it's vet minimum, bring him back.
3
I don't
year,
care.
$19 million deal on the way.
What?
The middle of an exception used on Alec Burks incoming.
The MLE on Alec.
MLE on Alec Burks incoming. See, this is the fun. This is the fun.
Not?
Hey, aren't we guys having fun? We're having so much fucking fun. Okay.
My heart stopped
Nikola
beating a
Jovic,
couple minutes
team
ago,
option.
but yeah.
Nikola Jovic, team option. Bring him back.
They think he's Jokic, so they're going
Yeah,
to keep
should
him.
be traded, but they'll bring him back. Next.
But George, what would I guess more of like if we're looking to the future, what would you do? Like they call you up on your, I don't even know the Australian country code. You get a weird call. They're calling you like you're the GM of the Heat. Something
That's
happened to
realistic
Andy.
too, mind you, George. This front
Yeah,
office doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. They would
yeah.
reach out cross country to get opinions.
Andy had something way too spicy and he's incapacitated. You're the GM. What are you doing tomorrow? Like, what are your moves?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
There should be one
Give me-
white
give me a
player
sec-
that should be traded as soon as
Okay.
you get the.
I'm
the-
not
the
re-signing
patch made.
Davion Mitchell unless it's on a $6.5 million deal for over 2 years. Sorry. It should
Okay,
be
so
12
you're
million.
you're not bringing. Is that because he cost us the pick, or just because you don't want to pay him?
David, no. Nothing to do with the pick.
Okay,
If it's on a team-friendly contract, if it's going to be $6.5 million each year for 2 years, I'll do that. Okay, up to $7 million, maximum.
Okay, so
If he wants 12 million,
if it's low or okay, got it. So he's
yeah.
gone
If
it's
it's
high.
12 million or more, time to go fuck himself. Next,
Okay,
Kyle
little
Anderson.
aggressive, all right.
You got to keep him because we can't trade him.
okay.
Duncan, fine. Next year is an expiring deal. Look to trade. Look to acquire a pick and then a player. Like you're going to be in purgatory anyway. Look to acquire some draft capital for this guy. Same
Okay.
thing with Terry Rozier, expiring contract next year. Okay, $26 million.
You're
No one's
have
going to want him.
catch a pick.
So
No one's
you're gonna take the expirings and take on probably a little bit longer, maybe mad
2
deals
3-year
to
deals.
get
Two
the
3-year
pick.
deals. Yep.
I like it. Okay, so you move those around.
I'm building my war chest up. Okay.
You have a plan, George, and that's more than anybody in that front office can say.
In 2028, when it's the off season for 2028, 2029, okay, we will have 2 to 3 second and first round picks. Doesn't matter. We're going to call them just picks in general. Okay. Andrew Wiggins going into the second last year of his deal. Can't move him.
No,
so
you got to
play. How are you going to move him? How can we possibly move him?
You get on the phone.
He's a $28 million contract.
Andrew Wiggins.
You
can trade him easily.
More because
he is a Harrison Barnes type player.
Yeah.
On a 3 years ago star type money.
But why? So my thought would be I like the first part of your move. If you take Duncan and Terry and take on, you're giving a team expiring and take on a worse contract with assets. I think what you're doing is you're looking to the following summer when Wiggins isn't expiring, and now you have these other contracts that might be expiring, and you're looking for the next big guy who asks out. But now you have the picks to make that a reality. Like that's kind of, and I guess that's the point we're trying to do when we're talking about the future. Like this team can never look beyond. They can't even look past like 3 to 4 months. Like if the Heat were smart and the Jimmy stuff happened over the summer, and Jimmy says, "I want the extra year," and the Heat say no, and he says, "Fine, I'll play on it." In what fucking world is Jimmy Butler going to behave? He has never done that in any stop that he has been on. Like the beauty of Jimmy Butler is he doesn't change for anybody. So if he was a prick in Minnesota, if he was a prick in Philadelphia, if he was a prick in Chicago, he's going to be a prick in Miami. While you were winning, everything was fine. While you were paying him, everything was fine. When he asked you for help and you couldn't deliver, things started to break apart. When he asked for Dame and went out of his way and said, I need an alpha next to me. I need a guy that can score. I cannot be relied on to score, 30 points every playoff game. They failed. And the moment that happened, he should have been moved, or at least they should have talked to him and said, Jimmy, we're so sorry we weren't able to do it for you. We're going to move on to the next stage. Where can we put you that you'd be happy?
And they literally could have done that, mind you, because I know people it was popular to say
LJ,
they missed on Dame to go get somebody or to trade him.
LJ, that's the next step, right? You're either going all in or you're figuring out the next move. Those are your two options. That's it.
I agree.
It cannot be we're super happy being a 5, 6, 7, 8 seed, and because we make fun of other teams for doing that. Like we've had podcasts where like, what are the Hawks doing? What are the What are the Bulls doing? What have the Bulls done for all these years? What are the Pelicans doing now that they, like, what are these teams
Yeah, but
doing?
the Pelicans have genuine talent. We have Jaime Jaquez. They have Trey Murphy Jr. You know what I mean?
No, no,
Like
I
second,
get that,
third,
but
sorry.
what I'm saying is, and for the Pelicans, some things
It's more
went
of a
wrong,
training
but
staff issue over there.
yeah, no, but then they traded for they gave up. It's anyway. I guess my point is, you can. You are one or the other. You either need. We are going all in, and we're going to contend, and we don't need to have a lot of draft picks now. Like that's kind of where the Knicks are now. The Knicks have, even though the Knicks still have picks, but they established such a war chest that they were able to make these moves, and they're like, okay, this is our chance, and it's probably not going to work out for them, but at least they've taken a chance. And
They
and the
Can I
but
just
the
say something
Bucks,
as well?
innuendo
Can I just say
joke all
something as
night,
well?
but
yeah,
Back on my point. Okay, like if we're looking at the roster as a whole as well, there's one or two other things I want to go through as well. One of them is Haywood Highsmith. Okay, the league has acknowledged him as a very good defender, Okay, he has worth on a playoff team. You should be looking to offload him for a pick or for anything. I don't give a fuck what it is. You should be looking to offload his contract. And we come to the butt of the joke, the cream of the crop, the mozza in the matzo ball soup, we're going to call it. Okay, we're going to get the Tyler Herro. If you don't extend him. You don't extend him. You don't extend him this year.
You can't extend him for. And George, it's a two-pronged thing. One, he has proven over and over again that he's not a playoff riser. His game does not get better as the season goes on.
He's a shrinker. He was in the pool,
yeah,
Harry.
Yes, Tyler was in the pool. It was anyway.
Shrinkage definitely applies.
So that's part one, is that he shrinks. So when people make fun of Mitchell or whatever, like, Donovan Mitchell's averaging 28.5 points per game and 44% shooting in 60 playoff games. I think Hero's done that in one playoff game, and it was his rookie season in the bubble, which to me, I'm sorry, it's not a real playoff.
He did it last year as well. The first game one of the round one.
So sorry,
yeah.
He's done that two times. So
he had a 23 or 27 point 12 assist game, and it was the best thing. I was so happy, and then he did nothing.
So he's done that 1/30th of the time that Mitchell has done that. The other part is, how could you possibly, let's say the salary cap gets up to like 180 or something ridiculous, which it probably will. How are you giving 50 million? How are you giving, 28?
You don't.
You
Plain
can't.
and simple, you do not.
And the problem is, if you do it, you're never getting rid of that contract. Like,
no.
It's
the ultimate poison pill. It is the Tyler Johnson deal on steroids.
There is a team out there. There are teams out there right now. If you call, they would take Tyler Herro. Like, you're not going to get the stars in the middle.
Orlando Magic need perimeter scoring at the 2 spot. They have needed it for a while. They have tried to draft it as a point of emphasis. It has not worked. Okay, it has not worked. They would gladly give up a first and a second and a player of value for Tyler Herro. You should do it. You should absolutely do it. Get away. It is Mario Hezonja with the mask on. Okay, that's who Tyler Herro is. We should get the fuck away from him, because he's draining the lifeblood of this organization. And it's not even his fault. It is the fault of a blind, senile old man at the head of the table. And I agree, and I see it. And I'm not stupid, and I'm not blind, okay? Pat Riley isn't the one who makes every decision on this roster, okay? It is plain and simple to see. When at the open training session happened and there's 12 people at the table, all execs, all people with fucking power, there is something going wrong. There's a systematic problem, and it's spearheaded by Pat Riley, okay? You look to trade him. Our Trump piece, our Trump card is Bam Adebayo. He is the guy that we said it earlier in the year, if you make him available, 29 teams call. 29 teams call. That is your get out of jail free card. I'd love to keep him. I think he's the best thing to happen in this franchise since D-Wade got drafted here, okay? Since LeBron and Bosh signed, I'll say. He is my favorite thing that's happened to this organization. I would still trade him because, of a byproduct, of a very poor product that the organization has put us in. You know what I mean? A bad situation calls for dire need for fucking resources. We need resources. You've got Bam Adebayo. You should be trading Tyler Herro like he is Bradley Beal. Like he's old Bradley Beal. That's how you should be marketing him. Someone who didn't, one guy who wasn't making the playoffs, another guy that can't rise in the playoffs. So you put it down a situation, you put it down to you put it on yourself and say that's our fault. Okay? He's the first option, you should be getting rid of him. But they won't. But they won't. They will invest and invest until he's 34 years old and he's averaging 12 points a game. And then they'll fucking hang his banner in the jersey. Hang his jersey in the rafters. And then call him the savior of the franchise, okay? Thank you for giving us such, great times, Tyler Herro. Thank you so much.
Tyler Herro is literally just what Joe Johnson was to those Hawks teams.
This is what I want. I want to say this, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it, and I don't really want people can talk to me after the pod or ask about it. But like, if Tyler Herro wasn't white, people would have been so over him by now. Like, it's just the fact that he's a white American, which is a rarity in the NBA. There are not a lot of white American basketball players who are good. It's just kind of where we are in the world right now. You get a lot more people from Eastern Europe and other parts of the world. And if he wasn't white, no one would give a flying fuck. And
I think, honestly, unless you guys have anywhere else to go with the conversation, I think that's a beautiful stopping point. Because I was going to ask, before George brought it up, I wanted to end on, what would you offer Tyler Herro for an extension and how much? But I think we all know. I think that's a moot point too. I don't think we have to even entertain that shit. So
I think we're missing the biggest point as well. I'm sorry, LJ, to cut you off through your elite rift. I apologize.
Oh, thanks. I know I was going to hit the end button and get the fuck out of here.
No. And my prediction is Kevin Durant will be a Miami Heat player in a couple months' time.
How many? What's the offer for him, George? What do they get him for?
Yeah, how many picks are we giving up?
They're giving up 3 picks.
We are to be the 5 seed. To be the 5 seed.
They're doing it.
What George is saying isn't even that like bashful. It's not even that preposterous. Because
it's not preposterous, but it's terrible.
It's going to be Andrew Wiggins or something like that, and picks.
You're probably
right.
We're
going to mortgage our franchise even more for I will call it the smallest window in NBA history.
365 days is all you get.
The smallest potential window.
It's literally Tyler Herro shrinkage is what we're talking about.
It is the Sahara Desert. There's an illusion in the background of a window. And the closer you get to it, the chances still say the same that could be a window, that just could be more fucking sand.
It's a one-sided mirror is what it is.
We could see the shortest window ever, which could be a year. It could also be closed as he gets here. That's the scary reality of it.
I think they probably wind up getting him for a salary match and I'd say 1 pick. I think all you need. It's probably the 20th pick.
Then what?
If I'm being honest with you,
the Houston Rockets have picks to spare and contracts to match. They would put up a first round pick to do that.
Maybe they would. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they don't want him.
Golden State would come back to the table with.
He's not going to Golden State.
He will.
He does not fuck with Draymond Green. He's not going to Golden State.
I really think so. I really think there would have been a bidding war in Texas for Giannis between Dallas, the Spurs, and the Rockets. But the problem is now that I think Dallas gonna have trouble not drafting Flag because he's an all-time.
There's no way that you give up on that. Yeah.
And the Spurs are kind of sitting there like they kind of have the trump card over the Rockets now with that number 2 pick. So I kind of think that's where this is headed. I think overall we made some good points tonight, and ultimately the Heat are just totally fucked. I really think that's
the minutia of it. Yeah.
Even if George is right and KD is a heater come July, we're going to be talking about how, oh yeah, we almost did it in the second round, but we just didn't have enough, and
it'll make for some fun regular seasons. A couple fun regular season games in like January.
Sure.
So I mean, that's more than we have now.
If we by the grace of God or anything like that do sign Giannis, I'm talking by the grace of God. if we do sign Giannis, I will be
Don't
happy
even entertain
for
it.
a month.
Don't
be
even
happy for a month.
waste your brain power thinking.
I know, man. I know, and it's not going to happen. But by the grace of God, like I'm talking, we've got less of a chance than Dallas did today to jump to the first spot. Okay, but by the grace of God, if it does happen, and Pat Riley can do some absolute maneuver and a half to come back, this would be. There's no words for it. There's no backflip I can see where into which like we could come back and be happy. But who knows? Till next season, guys, when we'll do our next show.
No, we'll do something next month, and we'll. I mean, maybe next week we'll talk about the Pat Riley presser.
24-hour stream, the trade deadline. No, the
You
trade
watch your
opening,
mouth.
free agency opening.
Also,
That's
Jason
what we'll be
Tatum is embellishing the biggest injury I've ever seen in my entire life. But that's
Yeah,
neither here nor there.
yeah.
Wait, is
Yeah,
he actually injured?
well,
Yes. But that's yeah. Cut it. Get out of here. We'll talk to you.
Need a stop and a rebound. Fournier.
Wait. I forgot to say, take care. Be good people. Sorry. We're rusty. Take care. Be good people. We'll see you next time.
Need a stop and a rebound. Fournier for three.
That was the Random Scrub Heat podcast.